Welcome, everyone, to the Kepler College Open House for 2025. I'm the president of Kepler College and a former student. I actually was a student when we had the degree program way back in the day. So the number one question I think that people have in their minds when they're trying to choose a school, because we recognize that there's lots of options out there, is why would we choose Kepler College? And that's maybe the question that a lot of you have right now. You're asking why? Why would I come to this school as opposed to some of the other options that are out there? So there's a few things that we think that are really key in terms of getting a good education. One of them is small class sizes. Now, this isn't the same as having 6 people sitting in your living room, but we do have, all of our classes are online, and the class sizes are usually limited to 30 people. Some classes are smaller, but not usually larger. And so when we have class sizes of this size, it gives you the opportunity to engage and participate, because the classes, there's a couple of exceptions, but the classes are in real time. So you're showing up to a Zoom meeting at a certain time and engaging not just with your instructors, but with your peers as well. And certainly in the earlier classes, there's additional labs that you can go to where you are really just engaging with each other. And that's an important thing that we think makes us different from a lot of the other places where you can get an astrology education. You also have assignments every week. We would say that overall in a class at Kepler College, it would take you between, you need, including the class time, 8 to 10 hours to work, to do all of your classroom reading, to do the assignments that you have. And there are weekly assignments and quizzes that you have to participate in, as well as discussion forums. So it's a bit of work. You don't want to sign up to this thinking that you're just going to be able to do the classes, the 2-hour class, and then carry on. You need to be committed to doing your assignments, or I should say, if you want to get a diploma or a certificate, you need to be committed. Anybody is welcome to attend the classes. And if you don't want to do the assignments, you don't have to. But if you want to get a certificate or a diploma, that would kind of be the expectation. So in most classes, there are weekly assignments of some kind. There would be a quiz or a discussion forum or a written assignment, or all 3 that you're expected to engage in. And your instructors will give you direct feedback on those assignments, written feedback. The other thing that we think that is a big strength of Kepler College is that we have multiple instructors. At this point, we have, throughout our school, over 50 instructors that are teaching a really broad perspective. They come from different backgrounds, and they have different views. Even within each classroom, you might have 2 instructors that are teaching that have a different view on the material that's being presented. And so when we have this model, this is a key thing that we believe. It helps you to develop your own critical thinking skills, because we're not just asking you to regurgitate the information or the belief of one instructor. I see a question there, and I'll answer as we get through. We have so many courses that are designed from everyone from beginner to advanced astrologers. So as you go forward in your studies, not only are you learning astrology, but you have courses that you can take that can help you to build your astrology practice. So we have classes in professional development, and there's a number of different, whether you take them as electives or whether you just want to help develop your own practice, we are able to help you go from a beginner student all the way into your professional practice. All of the classes are recorded, and you will have access to those classrooms and all of the recordings for up to 3 years. Now, the question that has popped into the chat box is, why would I choose Hellenistic over evolutionary astrology? And when we teach the fundamentals at Kepler College, we're not teaching one over the other. When we're teaching, we start with the fundamentals. We're just really teaching you the basics of astrology. And interesting that you should choose those two types of astrology to compare, because we are in the midst of offering or developing certificates in both of those areas. Now, this is my perspective on it. The rules for astrology, at least Western astrology, are all the same. So in all types of study, we've got planets, we've got signs, we've got houses, we've got aspects. There's a number of different things that are going to be common across all studies of astrology, which is also true in Vedic astrology. It's just a different type of study. We're focused on Western astrology. So Hellenistic and evolutionary astrology are both going to have all of those things in common. So our recommended path is that you go through the fundamentals, learn all of the rules, and then as you go further along in your studies, then you would say, now I want to specialize in evolutionary astrology or Hellenistic astrology, or maybe you want to study Vedic astrology. We don't have that certificate just yet, but that's one that's, we're hoping to have in the works. Maybe you want to study Uranian astrology, medical astrology. There's all different fields or branches of astrology that you could go down that road. So I would never say you should study Hellenistic over evolutionary astrology. I think you want to go where your heart takes you, and maybe you end up studying both, just so you know.
Yeah. Donna, my thought when I saw the question is, my thought would be, which would I study first?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not necessarily either or.
Either or, no, not at all.
And that's the problem with astrology. There are so many fields that really choosing which one you want to be as an expert in
They're
is
all interesting.
challenge. They're all really interesting. Yeah. So you're just going to go where your heart takes you. I can tell you where my heart took me ultimately, but that's different for every person. I just wanted to share this snapshot because this picture gets bigger and bigger every term. I think we've added a whole bunch of practitioners, and the next open house that we have, there's going to be a whole bunch more. We've got over 50 people engaged and involved in this at the college, whether teaching into the certificate or the diploma or the different certificates that we're offering right now. So as I was talking about earlier, you can see just a wide range of people, and these are people that are coming from all over the world. It is really, really fun to see all of these different perspectives coming in. I want to first start to talk about the fundamental certificate, because this is the starting place for most people. This is a 40-week certificate that is required if you want to go on and take the diploma in astrology. And so this is 4 10-week classes that are just kind of building on each other, ending up with the practicum, which is really just a synthesis of everything that you've learned in the previous 30 weeks. Now we have people coming into the fundamentals program who are pretty new to astrology, that really just have a basic understanding. And we also have people starting in this fundamentals class that have been practicing for 20 years and just want to make sure that they don't have any gaps in their knowledge, because let's face it, you don't know what you don't know. And so we start really at the beginning. Doesn't matter what your level is, although if you want to check where your level is, there is a quiz where you can test, where your best entry point might be, and I'll point you to that later on in the presentation. But really, this fundamental certificate is just designed to take you through step by step by step. It goes fast. And I'm going to say there's a lot of information in each of these classes. There's work involved in it, but for sure you'll get a lot out of it if you do all of your assignments and stick through. I think that just about everybody here has been involved in this fundamental certificate at one time or another. Do you guys have anything you would like to add about this certificate?
One thing I would like to say is that you may think you know, But once you get into these courses, you may be like, oh, that's why that does that. And, something that you may have swallowed whole because you read it in a book or online or someone told you, but you might not know why that is true. What is the elegant structure underneath that system? And the fundamentals will give you a really, really solid understanding that you can springboard off into really any astrology after that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I learn something every time, even teaching. We learn from the students, we learn from each other, and my understanding gets deeper, deeper, deeper.
That's a really good
Years.
point too, Vanessa. I've been teaching this fundamentals class or co-teaching this fundamentals class for over a decade now. And the questions that people ask, sometimes you're like, even after this decade of teaching this class, I don't know the answer to that. And that was a good question, and we'll have to figure that out. So yeah, I'm learning too.
And indeed, in the fundamentals courses, we have some of the Hellenistic clear up to modern, so that students know the history and the development.
Yeah, for sure. Inga's specialty.
There is a question here. Why do Vedic astrologers think that Vedic is the true astrology of the sky? And that gets you into the whole sidereal versus tropical that you do address in the fundamentals as well, too. So
We
that
can't answer
answers that.
why anybody thinks anything, but
Right,
every
but
astrologer is going to believe that the
there
astrology.
are biases, yes.
Yeah, for sure. Personally, I don't think that one is better than another. They're just different.
No, they both have different issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was another question in the chat that, do you take 101 then 102? Yes, absolutely, especially in the fundamental certificate, but true in many of the other certificates as well. You'd want to do these in order because they do build on each other.
Did you want to mention the challenge test for fundamentals at this point or not?
Oh yeah, each one of these classes, 101, 102, and 103, if you go through the placement quiz and you find that you have all of the knowledge that you need, that you think that maybe you don't need to start at 101, but you can start at 102, you can test out of these classes. This is not true for every class at Kepler College, but it's true for the fundamentals certificate. Other than the practicum, you do have to do the practicum, but you can absolutely test out of these first three classes if you think that you already have the basics and want to work towards the diploma, or if you think that you already have the basics of the 101 and want to step into 102, you absolutely can do that. Thank you, Jeannie. The other main certificate that we offer is the prediction certificate. And Carol is actually the certificate coordinator for this certificate. Carol, do you want to talk about it?
Definitely. There are some required classes in the certificate, particularly transits and progressions and solar arc directions are all in that same thing. Solar returns as well. So you can see the pointer going to those three classes. At the end of the certificate, there is another class, RP 202, which is basically the demonstration of learning for prediction required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have to take these three classes. And again, it's probably better if you do them in this order. Then you have to take one of either rectification or this applied forecasting, and two of these other electives in predictive astrology. So there's lots of options in here, and you might want to end up taking them all. You can see there's a couple of, I think we've got a couple of, maybe this is just a repeat here, but there are indeed a couple of different classes in electional astrology. One of them is only offered every 4 years, and it's relative to elections. So there's some interesting things that come up with doing predictive work.
The required classes are offered at least twice a year, so you'll have a chance to pick up anything that you missed.
Yeah. And you absolutely want to have the fundamentals, this fundamental certificate before you go into the predictive certificate. That's a prerequisite for these courses for sure. But then transits is a prerequisite for progressions. Once we get past the fundamentals, there are certain prerequisites that are going to come with the classes that you choose. And again, if you're not working on the certificate, you can sit in on any of these classes, but the prerequisites would still apply, because we don't want you coming into a class where you don't have the basic knowledge.
Donna, there's a question in the Q&A that says, so even if a person in NCGR level 3 has been taking some of Kepler intermediate courses, the 4 fundamental classes are still required for certification with the KPDA. So maybe we can distinguish the difference between certificate and diploma.
Yeah. What we're talking about right now are just the certificates, but here, I'll just go for, well, when we get to the diploma, I'll talk about that. But yes, you do have to, at least, even if you have this NCGR certification, what you want to do is test out of these classes. So you don't have to take them, but if you already know that you have the basic education that you think is going to be relevant to these fundamentals classes, you just need to test out of them. You don't have to take them all. You will have to take the practicum, however, because book knowledge and practical knowledge are completely different beasts. There's a few questions I see popping up that I'm going to get to when we get through just the fundamentals of what we need to do for the diploma here. I wanted to share here the additional certificates that we have. So these are certificates that are not required for the diploma, but you can take if you wanted to specialize in these areas. And there are others coming up. There's a whole bunch that we have in the work. Well, I'm not going to say a whole bunch, but there's a few that we have that are coming out that we're not quite ready to announce. A new one in here as well that is well in the works. We're offering one on Hellenistic astrology. So this one, you're going to see these classes coming up next year. And there's others that I'm sure we'll be announcing in 2025 as well. But this one's just a little closer that we can make a more formal announcement. We do have plans for a Uranian certificate, an evolutionary astrology certificate, and a medieval certificate. So these are some things that you can look for in the next year or the year after. To get the diploma, you need to have these 40 weeks of fundamentals. And as we mentioned, you can test out of 3 of these, or 30 of these 40 weeks you can test out of. You can also test out of chart calculation for the person that had the NCGR question. Is that the only, are those the only parallels that we have? Jeannie, am I missing anything?
No, that's it. Right now, that's what we've got. I know that they're creating others, but right now that's what we have.
And then, so you need to have 40 weeks fundamentals for the test outs. Then you need to have the 30-week prediction certificate. Chart calculation you need to take as well. And again, if you already are proficient in that, you can test out of that one. 10 weeks of history, and there's a few classes that would qualify for history. Inga, do you want to mention what those classes are?
Yeah, there's 4 different classes. There's the independent study, and then there's 3 different classes that take history all the way from prehistory all the way up to modern. So you can pick and choose which ones you're interested in.
And tell us why you think history is important to an education.
Well, I'd say it's important because from the early diploma course, we had history for the whole first year. Remember, Donna?
I do.
And it really does help you place all of these techniques and all the astrology that you're learning kind of into a framework, and makes a lot of what we're doing make sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
usually when people save it up for the last class that they take, because they think it's going to be hard, they all kind of email me at the end and say, oh my God, I can't believe I waited to take this. This would have been so helpful to take earlier.
I
Yeah,
actually think that these three classes, the chart calculation, the history, and the astronomy, are the classes that people often will wait until the end to take. But
yes,
really, if you had taken them at the start,
it would have
the
been
rest
so
would have been
helpful to
so much
you.
easier.
Yes,
The rest would have been so much
they're
easier.
all framework courses. Yeah,
Exactly. But, just to illustrate that, we're not attached to, other than that you need to take fundamentals.
right.
You can take these in whatever order you want.
Whatever order you wish. Yep.
Yeah, not all of the classes are offered every term, so you can play with those.
Let me add to this. We
Mhm.
have many of our courses are 5 weeks, so you can take 2 classes in a term.
Yep.
Mhm. That's right.
And all of the histories except for the self-study are 5-week courses. They're quick. They're not punishing.
And even the astronomy class is broken down into 5-week segments. So there's 5 weeks, then there's a bit of a break. You sign up for the whole 10 weeks, but there's 5 weeks, there's a bit of a break, and then there's another 5 weeks.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then you can choose just from some electives, and then the final demonstration of learning that Carol was talking about, that Carol would help to guide you through. That could be a written assignment, or it could be a presentation that you make. We have a student showcase at the end of each year where you are invited to present your findings, if you've done some research, whatever it is that you want to present on.
And maybe you can get it published.
And maybe you can get it published.
And we love it. It's one of our favorite things all year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There is actually an opportunity, because in 2025, we will be having a live symposium for the first time in, I'm going to say 15 years, something like that. Yeah, something like that. And there will be an opportunity for students to do their student showcase, their presentation at this symposium. Our hope is that it'll be live on an ongoing basis. And so if public speaking is something that's of interest to you, if you want to eventually be speaking at conferences, etc., that would be a place for you to get your feet wet. Okay, there is a question here. Is there one charge for everything for all courses instead of paying by course? We are working on a package. At the moment, it's just a course by course. We are working on some packages that we might
We
have.
have no idea what you want to take.
Yeah, but if you
Really?
wanted to take a certificate, if you wanted to buy a whole certificate, we're working on some packages like that. But at the moment, no, you're just going to do it course by course. So yeah, you're not committed. You don't have to buy everything up front. You can just pay as you go.
And you can take as long as you need. So,
You can't take as long as you need to finish your class.
Right, but for the certificate or the diploma. So,
Yeah.
Life happens to all of us, and you may start with the best of intentions of getting that diploma in 2.5 years, and you may find it actually takes you 4 because the classes are more involved than you thought, because your life takes a left turn, whatever it is. We keep track of those classes, we keep track of your progress, and we get you over the finish line eventually.
In addition to this professional, the KPDA, the Professional Diploma in Astrology, we also have a Kepler Advanced Professional Diploma. And this is an additional 60 weeks of learning. So there's a few more classes that we've added in that we think are really important classes in terms of being a well-rounded astrologer. And then this is where we ask you to focus in on a particular area of study. So working on an additional certificate. So you would choose, the list is here, but any of the certificates that we offer by the time you get to your graduation would qualify as a concentrated study. And then you would do an additional demonstration of learning. So yeah, this is something, all told, you would be ending up with 190 weeks. When we say 190 weeks, what we're saying is 190 2-hour classes. So
You
300.
mentioned the professional development, building your practice
Mhm.
types of courses.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think we're gonna look at some of these different certificates that we offer as we go through here. As Jeannie had mentioned, and I think that Inga had mentioned this as well, we do have some self-study courses, and you can, if working at a self-paced way works better for you, we have a few. I wouldn't say very many because our focus really is the live class environment, but there are some classes that have been set up as self-study. And of course, you can audit. I think I mentioned that earlier. If you want the education, you don't care about certification or diploma, then you just want to study, you can do that as well. And so that would be considered auditing. So you're not getting credit for them, but you can certainly come in and learn. And there are some of these that are also pre-recorded that you can purchase at a reduced rate. If you're participating in the live class, you pay the same rate regardless of what status that you choose. But you can go to our website and look through which options are available there. The winter term is open for registration. So if you want to check out what we have to offer, you can go to the store.KeplerCollege.org. And this term, we are going to be offering 2 classes in the fundamentals 1 and 2. One on the weekend. Both of these classes are offered on Sunday, and then an additional weekday class, which works out better for a lot of people. So you can choose from either one of those. And then, of course, the fundamentals 3 and 4. So you have time to register for these. Jeannie, when's our early bird deadline?
It's 2 weeks before the course begins. So if the course start date is the 12th, then it's going to be December 30th that you have to register before the 30th of December.
So you still have some time if you want to take the quiz and see where you might land. If you want to go through our free placement quiz and see whether you should take 1 or 2, you can do that. Now, here's the thing. You're not going to get your certificate unless you write the challenge exam. But given that there's only so much time left, if you decide, for example, that you've gone through the placement quiz and you think, no, I can write that challenge exam and pass it, I'm going to sign up for fundamentals 2, you can do that without having written your challenge exam. You can write the challenge exam, later. If you want to sign up for this, while the early bird discount is on, I would encourage you to do that, or whichever level is pertinent to you. So there's flexibility there.
Yeah, it's a 5% discount.
What you might do, but get that early bird deadline, meet that early bird deadline.
It's a 5% discount. So it's not a
Yeah.
big deal, but it'll buy you a couple of books.
Exactly. We are also offering consulting skills this term and astrological remediation. This is a brand new class that we're offering with Andrea, who is another one of the students who was part of the degree program back in the day. Astronomy for astrologers. We've offered astronomy classes before, but these are brand new instructors, Jeff Gronlund and Brandon Hansen. So this is essentially a brand new class that we're excited to offer some new perspectives. Introduction to Harmonic Aspects with Rick Levine, Solar Returns. This is one of the classes that is a requirement for the predictive certificate. And the Astrology of Identity and Character with Joseph Crane and Enid Newberg.
So this is one of our philosophy courses, Astrology of the Soul, or the philosophy side of astrology.
Yeah.
There's a question about, is this recorded?
Yes.
Will it be available to these people? Some have, one person has to leave.
Oh, yeah, we will put it on YouTube, wouldn't we, Donna? The open house? Yeah. We'll just put it on our YouTube channel.
Omari Martin, our current board chair, is going to be teaching a class on electional astrology. Enid, delineation synthesis is a class that you can take, and if you take your placement quiz and you find that you know a lot of the basics, but not everything, the delineation synthesis class is something that is almost like just a bridge to get you into 102 if you just need to fill in some of the gaps. So, and that's just a 5-week class. So if you have a good background in astrology, just want to make sure that you fill in a couple of gaps before you go into 102. That's a good class for that. Mundane Astrology is going to be offered in February. And here's one of Inga's courses, the Astrological Heritage Babylonia through Hellenistic. And Jensart will be offering a class on advanced progressions. And obviously, you're not going to take an advanced progressions class unless you've taken the initial progressions class.
Right.
So yeah, this is fairly advanced. So you want to make sure you have a solid background there. As Inga mentioned earlier, the history class you could take without any background in astrology at all. So we've got different levels, and you can see at the bottom, this is an advanced course, the advanced progressions. The astrological heritage is beginner. The electional astrology is intermediate. So pay attention to those, and pay attention to the description in the store that tells you what prerequisites you might need in order to take that class. Because 2 things: 1, we don't want you to feel overwhelmed when you're in the class, and 2, we don't want people in the class who are asking basic questions about astrology that might hold back the rest of the class. We do have a certificate in the astrology of healing. And of course, the basic class in that, the medical astrology, history and foundations, will begin in January with Lee Lehman and Will Morris. This is an advanced course, so there is an expectation that you have solid astrological understanding before you move into this particular certificate. That won't be true for all of the certificates, but it is for this one. We are starting on a series of master classes, which are really just 2.5-hour little classes that you can earn credit for. And you will earn credit. A 2.5-hour class would be like 1 credit. So if you wanted to build, we're starting with the professional development classes. If you wanted to build a series of 1 credit classes to earn the 5 credits that you need to get your diploma or your advanced diploma, to qualify for an elective, then you can take these. And the first one that we're offering is the Speak to Shine, Mastering Astrological Talks and Top Speaking Opportunities with Meghna Bhagat. Meghna was a real big star in the Kepler Astrologers Toastmasters Club, and she's gone on to have a very successful speaking career in a really short order of time. So we figured she'd be a good person to teach other people how to do that. And again, this is not, it's a master class, more geared for people who are already practicing astrologers and want to get themselves out there in the world, but it's not necessarily requiring astrological knowledge. So if that's something that interests you, you could take that without being an advanced astrologer.
And each one, you can mention that each one of the master classes might be made up of either 1 credit or 3 credits. Like the speaking one with Meghna is a 3 credit, it's 3 weeks. So there's a 3-week commitment, but each master class will be designed for whatever the topic is and the length of time.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that, Jeannie. We also have a new AstroMapping certificate. Not really new. We've been offering classes in AstroMapping for a long time. And in fact, Karen McCauley is here. Karen, do you want to talk about this certificate?
Well, the idea primarily was to expose the students to different areas of astromapping, from the global mapping of their birth planets to the local mapping. and also topics like geodetics, which is a different way of assigning areas of the world. So it was primarily to give the students a variety of exposures to all the different aspects of astromapping.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. And I have to say that this is not an area of expertise for me. And as a practicing astrologer, this is the one area where I end up having to refer people to different astrologers all the time, because people are really asking for that, and they're asking for it by name too. Regular people in the world are understanding this idea and wanting to get some help on where they might be able to go, whether they want to move. Largely, I think people are interested in where they might want to move, but even if you wanted to go on vacation or however that might work. A very popular area of growth in the world of astrology right now. So that is a fascinating one to look at. Okay, I see
Donna,
another.
there's a question in the Q&A. What resources and support do you offer to help students successfully complete the program? Are there common challenges students face? How do you help them overcome those?
As we go through the classes, as I mentioned earlier on, these are live classes with one-on-one engagement. So within every classroom, there's an opportunity for the students to actually have conversation with their instructor. And certainly just about all of the instructors have no problem with spending extra time with you if you're struggling in an area. But within each classroom, there are places where you can engage in discussion. I want to say that so much of the learning is going to be coming from your peers. So there's an opportunity for you to have discussion with your peers. We encourage you to form connections with the people in your classroom. But certainly all of the instructors, whether you are engaging with them in the class, in the labs, via email or meeting with them, are very supportive of every student as they go through the program.
And we want you to succeed. And so that's the point of all the feedback that we give on the assignments. You'll rate the assignment, send it in, and your instructor is going to go through it, one by one and give you oh, this is amazing. You've got this right. This concept, maybe you need a little bit of work here. And that way it's so targeted just to your experience, and you can get pushed a little bit further to deepen your understanding just where you need it. So even if you think you know all of this stuff and you're absolutely great, that one little thing, we're going to push you.
Yeah.
We're not going to be like, well, you can slide by without that. We're going to be like, well, you're going to get a little deeper there.
Yeah.
I have another question, Donna.
Yeah, I see that question. What level of skill is required for the AstroMapping course? Maybe that's a question for Karen.
What was the question?
What level of skill is required for the AstroMapping course?
Well, if you're going to be successful with using the tools, you definitely need a good, solid preparation in basic natal astrology. And that should include not only natal charts, but relocated charts, for example. Solar returns can be helpful too, but definitely a basic astrological knowledge about natal astrology. Because ultimately you're going to go back to the natal chart to see if a certain planetary line or area is going to be beneficial to you.
And you need to understand the function of all of the planets in the first place.
Absolutely.
So you're going
I also wanted to mention that in terms of resources for students, I think just about every class, in addition to whatever textbook they're using, will be listing other texts that are appropriate in an area for students to look into, as well as programs available, such as the free program astro.com, all the different charts you can get there. So I wanted to include that.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah.
We also, KeplerCollege also introduced a beginner AstroMapping. So AstroMapping for beginners, and that will be offered in the spring term. So if you're unsure whether you have the basic skill set or you have the tools ready to go into AstroMapping, I would recommend that you do that course in the springtime. Learn what is required, and that just gets you started at the very beginning, and then go from there.
Yeah. Jeannie, would you also like to talk about the library that is offered for the students relative to the question of resources?
Yes, so we do have not only do we have our store, but we have our library, which is library.KeplerCollege.org. Everybody has access to our library. So we do have articles there. We do have links to some of our YouTube videos. We also have some other resources that are there that are open to the public. If you are a student, you will need to create a user ID and be allowed access to the student portal for the resources that are there, discounts for software. Links to, for example, Kaylee Library, which houses the Kepler College Library now. The other areas like different articles that might be helping you in your own personal studies. So that's a resource that's available to you as well. We are in the process of still building that out. We are making many changes, so that's kind of falling by the wayside, but eventually we'll get there. And input from the students is very much appreciated. I'd like to see this. I don't see it. Where would I find it? And we can add that to the library and start to build a resource that is useful to all students.
Thank you, Jeannie. Yeah, there's lots of things in the works here at Kepler College. We just continue to have new ideas and to think of new ways that we can build not only the community, but resources for the students, etc. But we're not limited by our imagination, that's for sure. But we run out of time to do everything that we want to do. We do have these free courses in the store. You've heard me talk about this quiz that you can take, which tests your level of knowledge. If you are a brand new person to astrology, this introduction to astrology will teach you the basics like the glyphs, for example, and planetary order. And if you want to take the fundamentals class, the one that's starting this winter, I would recommend going through this free course to make sure that you're solid on your understanding of those really basic ideas. And then, of course, also this free course on Babylonian mathematics, which is very interesting as well. So you can find these free courses or free opportunities in the store. And you are welcome. You're welcome to take this quiz as many times as you want.
Donna, can you mention the quiz is there to help us place you in the right course, especially if you're saying, hey, I want to take it. And this is many times. You don't know what you don't know. If you're a self-taught astrologer, yeah, I've been practicing for 10 years and I'm self-taught, and then I take the quiz and oh my goodness, I'm missing these little key pieces that would say, hey, maybe you need to take fundamentals too, to pull all that together and strengthen your background and knowledge. I mean, Donna, you've had astrologers, professional astrologers in your fundamentals one course say, oh my God, I didn't even know that this existed.
And we even have people who have tested out, because you can test out of these courses, like I've mentioned, who've tested out of 101 and just started in 102 and go all the way through, end up going back and taking 101 after they'd finished the certificate, because they realized that even though they had a basic knowledge of those fundamentals, that there was a lot more that gets unpacked than they would have done otherwise. So I think it's worthwhile, even if you know you're going to whiz through it, to start at the beginning. But, if you're already really, really solid, by all means, take the quiz and find out where the best placement for you is. We have got a number of webinars that are coming up. We always have free webinars for the community, so this is not new probably to most of you. Coming up, we've got a webinar or a panel webinar. So there's, if you want to learn more about the AstroMapping, all of the instructors that are part of that particular certificate, including Karen, who's with us today, will be there, and they'll be talking about AstroMapping through Amelia Earhart's chart. So that'll be interesting. Donna Stellhorn is going to talk to us about the year of the wooden snake, Chinese astrology, which we don't actually teach at Kepler College, but it's always fascinating to see this perspective. And then another webinar in February that will be free to everybody, our life map in the sky. So another more informative webinar regarding the astrocartography and astronomy. So that'll be interesting. All of our webinars are available on YouTube once they've, a few days usually after they've been shown. So you can go to our YouTube channel and see all the great things that have happened there. Jeannie, can you talk about this just for a minute?
We have, this is the YouTube channel that Donna was talking about, so apologies. So all of our webinars that we have on a monthly, actually, we have a couple of them a month. They're all free to the public. You can come, you can go to our YouTube channel. We have some very, very interesting and very informative webinars that you can go through. I think that we're actually leaders in the quality of webinars that is currently being offered. They're very well put together. Callum is excellent in introducing and guiding the people through. The recordings are there within a 24-hour period. We're compiling leaders in astrology interviews as well with astrologers that have history. Astrologers like Rob Hand. We haven't gotten him yet, but we're really working on trying to get an interview with him. But these are people that have been foundational in the astrological world, bringing us information in their writings, in their books, and their talks. The mystery chart series is another one that we're going to be offering. Our marketing director, Lori Barnes, is quite inventive in getting new ideas out there and bringing people forward to provide us with these talks. Is there anything else that anybody would like to add to this? Talking about the astrology business, AstroMapping, all of these things. There's a lot of information on our website, like on our YouTube channel, that you can definitely just glean through and listen to for hours, if you have nothing else to do over the Christmas vacation.
It's absolutely true.
We had a talk yesterday, in fact, that should be up in the YouTube channel in the next day or two, forecasting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
25.
today or something. Mary's pretty good about getting them up within a 24-hour period.
Okay, it should be up in the YouTube channel now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they usually happen pretty quickly.
Also, another resource, since people asked about resources for students, we have a Sunday chart analysis group that meets every week and has been for the last dozen years.
Yes.
That people are free to come to or not come to whenever they want. And when you brought up mystery charts, that's what reminded me that I hadn't said anything about the Sunday group, because we also do mystery charts sometimes as part of that exercise. But a lot of current affair topics, things happening in the world. So we try to vary it, and relationships also.
Yeah, it's a great place for astrologers. It's like astrologers to meet up and talk astrology, because we're solitary people, and it's really nice to talk astrology.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, people of all levels, this is just for students, but it's students of all levels. So you can come as a beginner. And I think, you're not going to be pressed too hard to participate if you're a brand new beginner, but you can still watch and see what everybody contribute what you can, and to see what everybody else is doing, see what's in store for you down the road. So
Yep,
yes.
it's okay to lurk and it's okay to jump in with anything you want. It's not
Yeah.
recorded, so
Right.
there's no pressure. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
There's a question here, Donna. If I took a class and did not finish it, can I audit it again for free or reduce instead of
If
You
you took
still-
a class, it's available for 3 years still
yeah.
on the system.
It would
Yeah,
depend on the class. So just reach out to email Jeannie, or who do you want them to email, Jeannie? You?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll put in my
So, the
email.
route to take is going to depend on the class. So we can't answer that that question as a general statement. To join the students group, you just have to be a student, and then the link to any of to that Sunday class or that Sunday chart practice that Karen is talking about will be in every classroom. So everybody can do that. Other things that KeplerCollege offers is, I briefly mentioned this Toastmasters group, where we've had people really come through this Toastmasters group. It's only been running for a couple of years, but there's people that have come out of there who have just taken the world by storm, like come from nowhere and taken the world by storm. So if your goal is to become a speaking astrologer, and I would say whether you want to do, webinars for your local group, or whether you ultimately want to speak at a conference, this is a great place for you to practice those skills. And Toastmasters, I wasn't familiar with Toastmasters till we started this group, but it also helps you to develop leadership skills, and of course, learning to think on your feet, developing your self-confidence. There's some great things that this particular group can help you with. KeplerCollege is a sponsor of this Toastmasters group, but it's like a true Toastmasters group. And they meet every Wednesday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 Pacific. You're welcome to come as a guest if you want to check that out. You can you'll see the email address in here, where any of the officers would be able to give you the link to attend that. And yeah, it's been a great place, even if you're a professional astrology, and in fact, I would say sometimes especially if you're a professional astrologer, because you can have a lot of really valuable information in your mind, but if your delivery isn't there, then your presentation really suffers. So a great place to practice those skills. We also have a Uranian astrology group, and this is more like a club. So you can join this club if you're into Uranian astrology, and they meet once a month. And you can find the registration for both the Uranian astrology group and the Toastmasters group in our store. It's listed under groups, Jeannie? In the store? Yeah.
Yeah.
And on Facebook, we also have a book club, which has been proving to be quite popular. So if you just have general, you're not maybe interested in taking classes, but you want to join the book club, you're welcome to do that. Every month, there's a different book that's read and discussed. If the author is alive, they're invited for a Q&A. And if they aren't, we find somebody else who might be an expert in the field to come and answer questions relative to that book. So that's a fun thing that we offer as well. No charge for that. And we also have a spirit store with all kinds of fun things that you might be able to find. I personally have, for those of you who are more seasoned astrologers, I have a phone case, you can't really see it clear here, that has the table of essential dignities on, that to me has been like, I always said if I was ever to get a tattoo, it would be the table of essential dignities. And now I don't have to. Now I don't have to get the tattoo because I have it on my phone case. So there's just some fun things there. We're not making a bunch of money off of this or anything, but if you wanted to have your Kepler paraphernalia, we encourage you to go there. There were some questions farther up in the chat that I wanted to talk about. And one of them was about how long does it take to become an astrologer? I don't know. That's kind of like how long is a piece of string? Um, how long it takes to become proficient. I mean, we certainly have people that are coming out of our diploma program. Our diploma program, if you take 10 weeks of classes per term, you can finish the diploma in 4 years. Some people do it faster. You know, if you can double up if you've got lots of time. And as Jeannie mentioned, some people do it much, much slower. So you don't have to take a class every term. You can take as long as you want, but you can be fairly proficient if you're really applying yourself. And I think that's the key thing too. It's not just about, okay, I've taken these courses, but what are you doing in between? Because it's not just about, have I done the assignment, but then have I practiced everything I've learned on a whole bunch of charts? So to answer that question, everybody's going to be on their own individual journey, but we can teach you the things that you need to learn to be proficient. What you do with it is up to you. Do you need a diploma or a certificate, professional development as an astrologer, or to be a professional astrologer? Astrology is an unregulated field. And we know that to be true because we've seen the TikTok videos of people who have read a book and are now promoting themselves as astrologers. As an unregulated field, anybody can call themselves an astrologer. Whether you're going to be good at astrology or not really is going to depend on how much effort you put into it. And granted, some people just seem to be gifted, much to the annoyance of those of us who really have to work at it. Some people just have to, read the book and it's for the topic of the week and off they go. They've got it nailed. And we see that in our student body all the time, that some students are just got it, away they go, and other people are going to struggle a bit more with the concepts. So it's totally an independent individual journey, but if you really, really are dedicated and passionate about it, you can do it in a few years.
I also think it depends what you consider a professional astrologer or an astrologer. A consulting astrologer, that's not the path for everybody. You might be a research astrologer, you might do mundane astrology, you might be, go into podcasting or something like that. So there's a lot of different lanes you can choose for your professional path.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
And one of the best characteristics of astrology in general is that it gives us the opportunity for a lifelong study, because there's no way that you're going to cover all of it and master all of it. So you pick and choose the areas of interest. And one of the things we do at Kepler is help you develop your toolbox for figuring out what methodology you're going to use. We don't have a Kepler method.
Yeah.
We help you find your method.
That's right. I'm really glad you brought that up, Karen, because there's not enough time in our life, even if you start young, to know everything there is to know about astrology. And earlier on in this presentation, somebody was asking questions about Vedic astrology. Well, to me, it's like, when I have figured out everything that I might want to learn about Western astrology, then maybe I'll learn Vedic astrology. And not because I think one is better than the other. It's just because I grew up on Western astrology, so that's what I'm studying. But it's an endless field of study. And even when you've learned the things that you want to learn, you might be interested in doing your own research. Like it's never ending. If you talk to any of the people who have had a lifelong study, it's never over.
That's 5,000 years of astrology.
That's right. 5,000 years of astrology.
There's your answer.
And people are always discovering new things or researching new things and doing translations of old books. And there's always fascinating stuff going on in the world of astrology. Are there any other questions before we close up this this webinar? I'm not seeing any. But if anything does come to you, you are welcome to reach out. What's the best email, Jeannie? The info@KeplerCollege.org?
And we have a new one as well. hello@KeplerCollege.org.
Hello at
Hello. So you
KeplerCollege.org.
can reach us any way that way, and it will go into, you will get routed to the right person.
Great.
Excellent. A question in here, is astrocartography a specialty? Yeah, that would be considered a specialty. Mhm. So that if you worked on that certificate, if you were working on the diploma, that would be one of the concentrated areas of study that would apply towards your advanced diploma. Yeah. Well, thank you all for joining us.
Good to see you all.
Been our pleasure. We look forward to seeing you in classes or in webinars or workshops down the road, and wishing you all the best in the new year.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.